The College Basketball Experience MAAC preview, also known as the MAAC edition on the Sports Gambling Podcast Network, is brought to you by Underdog. Underdog is hooking up new customers. Play just $5 and get $50 in bonus funds when you sign up with our promo code TCESGPN. Welcome, everybody, into the College Basketball Experience, the MAAC preview, also known as the MAAC, baby. Talking the Metro here. Fun league, great league, 13 teams, always an entertaining conference tournament. The defending champion, Mount St. Mary's, got to the dance last year. We'll recap last year, look ahead to 25-26, break down each and every team, and say who will cut down the nets this year. But first, if you're wondering who you're listening to, I am Moneyline Mac, a.k.a. the former video coordinator for Bob Huggins and Frank Martin. Make it Mac tonight, baby. Cheers, everybody. Wednesday nights, mid-September, actually closer to the end of the September already. Less than 6 weeks till we tip off the ball. And joining me to talk MAAC, you guys know him from the great state of Michigan. He is a LeBaron driving, cocktail napkin having, Noah B77. What's up, Bienick?
What's going on, Mac? And today we've got Huffer as well. It's a little Great Lakes edition of a MAAC preview. No, not the MAAC with one A. We've got the MAAC with two A's today. But you bet that Huffer, the MAAC grad, will be here for a MAAC preview in a little bit as well.
Indeed. And, hey, tease it out there. Third man in the box from the Midwest, a great Hoosier State. You guys know him from the Pump Fake Pod. He is Michael Huffer. Huff, what's up, brother?
Hey, what is up, everyone? So good to be back. Thanks for having me. And, yeah, feeling good. Midwest represent, Noah. Let's go.
There we go.
There you go. I'm outnumbered here on the East Coast. But, let's talk about this MAAC last year. Quinnipiac wins the regular season again. Quinnipiac's been a nice little darling in the regular season. They just have not been able to get over the hump once we get to March because it never goes chalk in the MAAC tournament. Mount St. Mary's, the 6th seed, I believe, last year. They came out of the 6th seed. They were tied for 4th, caught lightning in a bottle, got to the dance, won the playing game before losing to Duke. Bienick, how did we do on this league? This league is always hard to predict.
Yeah, I did very well, and yours was honestly a little bit of a dumpster fire. We'll talk about it.
Nights.
Quinnipiac, my darlings, you guys always like to fade the Aqueduct, but they began the conference slate 14-3, therefore winning the regular season. However, they lost 3 of their last 5 games, and they just got cold at the wrong time. One of those games came in the semifinals of the conference tournament, eliminating them and ending their season. Like you said, the Mount won the conference tournament. Hell of a coaching job by Donny Lind. He came onto your show, Mac, in the preseason. I don't think I'm ever going to forget this. He was downplaying like the possible quality of his roster and how well they were going to be coming into the season, and then they just go on a run at the end of the year, winning that conference tournament. Quite a surprise. I think even their head coach was maybe a little surprised there. Mac, you did get the sleeper team. I got it alongside you. We were both pretty high on Merrimack. The Warriors, they finished 2nd place in their first year in the MAAC, just a game outside of a share for 1st place. And I also nailed the bust, who was Niagara. Mac, you picked Niagara to win the conference tournament. They finished, I think it was 2nd to last. In 2024, they were 11-9, but in 2025, they dropped like a rock to 6-14. Yeah, just a trend on this conference of going back and looking. Of the 20 teams that have finished inside this conference's top 5 of the standings in the last 4 years, 17 of the 20 have had a top 5 defensive efficiency via KenPom. Defense tends to win in this league because, quite honestly, the MAAC rates poorly on the offensive side of the ball.
I think why we like this league so much, and I see Mr. Jalapeno in the chat talking about it, I feel like we get more eyes on this league than almost every other mid-major league because of the way the schedule's constructed.
This is why I hate it so much, is because you have to look at it a lot. Like on those Fridays when there's only like 7 or 8 games, 4 of them are MAAC games.
Yeah.
And I feel like those are a little bit tighter lines, and I always suck game by game. But I'm glad that I nailed the preseason predictions. Huffer, what's your opinion on this league, seeing these games mostly on Fridays and Sundays when you only got 25 to 30 games a day?
I respect it. I'm glad it's just not always on Saturday. So, you got to tune into some Mount St. Mary's versus Manhattan or something like that on a Friday, little 7 o'clock, just dinner time ball. I really enjoy this conference. It's kind of like a gritty conference where they play really tough defense, I feel like, most of the time. And yes, as you mentioned, lackluster offense. So I enjoy this league. And I got something in my heart about the MAAC, as you mentioned earlier, Noah. And I don't mind a little extension on the A there. But
action.
I enjoy this league. And I think it's kind of wide open this year, in my opinion. And it kind of always is, which we talk about a lot in these low major conferences, is that each year it gets a little more wide open. And there's always front runners, but expect the unexpected in these low major leagues like the MAAC.
Well, I think the other thing too is it's a bus league. Everything is in the Northeast here. The New Yorks, regional. You extend a little bit into Maryland, but you got Pennsylvania. You got a lot of schools in Jersey, and Connecticut, obviously. So yeah, I think that's what adds another layer to the MAAC being so unique and kind of a throwback league. So we got a lot of teams to preview, so we'll cut to it right here. But first, if you want to get our picks for college football this week, head on over to the SGPN app in the App Store for easy access to get all our free picks and props today. All right, let's cue up the slideshow, youtube.com/college experience. Did that load?
Yeah. We got it.
Looks like it.
Interesting. I don't know why my thing just said it needed to reload. Mine is loading. All right, there we go. There it is. Canisius, the Golden Griffs here. Jim Christian, veteran coach, had a lot of success at Kent State. Ironically, he was really the one that got Kent State going before Senderoff kept it going there. And just overall a really good coach. He was at Boston College as well. He's been around the block, 300-plus wins. We also had a stop at TCU. Ohio, he was really good as well. Obviously, last year sucked. He was 3-28 in his first year, but he took over a dumpster fire. So, veteran coach here. We'll see if they could take a step here in year number 2. Coach Christian, his group, Bienick, give us a rundown here.
Yeah, you kind of mentioned it. Year 1 under Coach Jim Christian was a disaster. Canisius finished with the worst defense and second worst offense in the conference. I think it was their worst winning percentage as a program since like the 50s. The main reason why I personally got burned, I was a little bit higher on thinking just Christian would be able to get the most out of a bottom tier roster, and that just didn't happen last year. Christian only returns 2 players from last year's team. He hit the portal really hard, searching for some upperclassmen, and that he did. As the Golden Griffins have the most experienced roster entering the preseason of the MAAC, and it's due to a lot of these guys transferring in from, I would say, middle tier conferences in the mid-major ranks, but kind of lower end programs, and now Christian hopefully will do well with some of the experience that these guys have, because Marcus Nyblack is a transfer from Jacksonville, who the Dolphins have been a really good defensive program over the last couple of years over there. Khalil Singleton is a Holy Cross transfer, played 18.5 minutes a game last season. Brian Jonga from Central Michigan played 19.5 minutes. Miles Wilmoth is a Siena transfer in conference. He's a graduate senior. He's a 6'10 forward who played 16.5 minutes for the Saints last season. Michael Michael Egbagharu is a Central Arkansas transfer. He's a 6'4" wing who played 26 minutes a game last season. Max Uziniak is a Mercyhurst transfer who played 22 minutes a game. And then King Leoma is a D2 transfer from Livingstone who played 28 and a half minutes last season. All these guys, juniors, seniors, graduate seniors, going into their third, fourth, fifth years of college basketball. I think that overall, this is a roster that is a candidate for addition by subtraction, and that if that's the case, I think they climb out of the basement here. Canisius, I'm relatively positive for what is such a low bar to clear from last year.
Huff, what's your take?
Yeah, I really like Jim Christian. I think, he expects that this wasn't just like an overnight, rebuild. And Noah makes a great point of bringing in the experience. He brings in tons of graduate transfers, and I think that adds a ton of depth, not only at one position, but all across the floor. So yeah, I mean, everything should be a step up, hopefully, from 3-28. But I don't know. Do I foresee them being a major step up? But I think 10 wins, 12 wins, and that margin is a step up from 3-28. So every step forward in our little rebuild to get this back to what it was under Jim Barron. And but I do like the graduate transfers. He brings in good people, and he's always been a winner. So I think he definitely knows how to win and rebuild this program. But I don't think it will be this year. But I do see major improvements from last year.
Yeah, Mac, I just want to add before we move on from the conference too, like Anthony Bernard, the returning point guard, that's like the big piece that they did return. Mm-hmm. I just wanted to hit on him because Jimmy Christian last year said he was the best player on the roster. He played 30 minutes a game, wasn't much of a scorer, but he averaged 4 assists a game, and he shot 37.5% from 3. So if he can unlock maybe a scoring department in his game, this is also like of the two pieces they bring back from last year's team, he's a very solid one.
And I guess, like, I'll say this too, with that wide open league mention, I mean, anything can happen if things go, right, and you find the right pieces. It's kind of like a puzzle, this portal is, and getting experience, I think, is one of the major intangibles that we don't talk about in the portal.
Yeah, this team will be much improved. Christian has the most wins in the league for a reason. He didn't forget how to coach. They just had a bad group last year, so they're the oldest team in the league. And what, they had 7 losses by single digits last year. So give me Canisius to take a nice little step here. I think Huff's right on. Maybe they could get to 9, 10, 11 wins here overall, and maybe even climb into the middle of the pack here in the MAAC. All right, number 2 on the dock, Chris Casey over from Fairfield, another guest, former guest on our show. Spent a lot of time at Niagara before getting the Fairfield job. If you remember, he got the Fairfield job 2 years ago in the fall, taken over as interim coach. They win 24 games. He gets interim taken off. Last year was a little bit of a setback. 2 years ago was a magical year for these Stags. Noah, what do you think? Do we get a zigzag here, or is it more of the same from last year?
At the top of the show, I mentioned that there are only 3 teams in the MAAC's top 5 over the last 4 years that did not have a top 5 defense. 2024 Fairfield defied that trend because of the league's best offense and just great vibes under the interim head coach, Chris Casey. Now he's full-time head coach. But the defense, which, like I've said, that's consistently what's shown, has been able to, be really good, lead to really good teams and seasons in this conference. They've been ranked 9th and 10th in the conference defensively. However, coming into this year, they are the second most experienced roster in the MAAC, according to Torvik, for this preseason. They do lose a couple of starters in Jamie Bergens, who played 32 minutes a game last season. Prophet Johnson, who played 29.5 minutes, averaged 13.5 points, 7.5 boards, 2.5 assists, 2 steals per game. That's a big loss. And then Louis Bleachmore, who played 25 minutes a game last season. Kyle Jenkins also played 21 minutes a game. The only returning starter from last year is Braden Sparks, who is expected to be kind of the point guard for this season. His first time kind of stepping into that main distribution role. He's a senior, 6-footer, put up 9.5 points per game, 2 assists, So we'll see what happens here. He's more of a shooter, I would say. And then 3 important gets from the portal here. Deuce Turner from UC Santa Barbara. They've been a pretty good guard factory over the last couple of years. So I like that get. He played 19.5 minutes last season for the Gauchos. Cam Estevez from Rhode Island played 16 minutes a game last season for Archie Miller. And then Ryan Zahn, a 6'6" forward from LaSalle, transfers in after only playing 9.5 minutes. But overall, I think this roster is all right. It's more of a middle tier roster talent-wise for me. And that's kind of where I'm going to have the Stags under year 3 of Chris Casey.
Huff.
Yeah, I like Fairfield. I mean, a team I normally bet on in this conference. I feel like just historically, but I agree they lack talent compared to other teams in this league. But they are able to shoot. They like to spread the floor, and if they can get into transition, they can be a problem, especially at home in that gym. But Noah made a great point on those transfers. And you also see some role players in like Noah Best last year and Isaac Munkati. And, we talk about it a lot. It's like these role players now have to be able to take that next jump. And maybe on a grander stage, it's harder. But in these conferences, like for Fairfield, it is potentially easier to take that next step, have more possession usage. And I think we're going to see that out of those teams. And, I like Chris Casey. I think this team's going to be middle of the pack of the MAAC, and they do have experience, like we talked about with Canisius. So, you never know. I just think it's they're heavy do or die on the 3, and that always is volatile, especially in conference play with a heavy defensive team and stout team like a Merrimack or a Mount St. Mary's. So, yeah, middle of the road in this conference for me, around 7th or 8th for Fairfield.
I'm going to co-sign. I think that they'll finish. It won't be as bad as last year, but it will not be as good as the interim year. So I think a 500-like year, 16 and 17, 17 and 16, split the difference between those 2 years with the data that we've had with Chris Casey. They got a lot of experience, so I think Fairfield will be improved, but not as good as they were 2 years ago. Next up, we got Iona, the mystery team in a way here. First-year head coach. They're going the NBA route. Dan Geriot?
It might be Geriot.
Geriot? Geriot? Like Ryan Terrio?
I don't know the actual pronunciation yet.
We'll get it eventually. So he comes over. He stops at the Pelicans, Cavs. He was a head coach for the Cleveland Charge for I think 2 seasons. He played for Chris Mooney at Richmond. He was on, I believe, the Sweet 16 team back in 2010 for the Spiders. Iona will be talented. They have the resources. They have money. Tobin Anderson got screwed, I thought. But, hey, it's a new era here. Noah, what do you think? This is a good roster. It's a lot unknown here.
Yeah, I will reach out with an olive branch to Tobin. I did think he got the rough end of that deal because he took them to the conference championship last year. They didn't win it, but he got there. But yeah, now he's in South Florida. Well, I mean, that's a brand that I like and a coach that I don't necessarily like. I don't know. We'll see about those Bulls when we get there. But in my opinion, I think Iona swung big and actually kind of connected with this hire. You look at that resume inside the NBA working there, Dan Geriot was kind of in line to be due for like a head coaching gig within the next couple of years in the NBA with the path that he had taken. So, most known as an assistant for JB Bickerstaff, who just had the Pistons and had their best year in like a decade, specializing in player development. And that's where you're going to look at Iona over not necessarily right away this year, but over a year span or two to see how well some of these players do develop. And there's a lot of turnover on this roster. Only one guy returns from last year. He did a pretty good job, in my opinion, grabbing some role players from good mid-major conferences. And if this all meshes and he's a all right coach, this could be a top half team or a contending team with, the type of program pedigree that Iona does carry. But like I said, this roster is brand new, shitload of transfers. You got Chase Cormier coming in from Wofford. He only played 20 minutes a game last year, or in 2023-24. He didn't play last year. He redshirted. Keyshawn Williams is a Colorado State transfer who's a graduate senior. Khalil Badru is a New Hampshire transfer who played 22 minutes a game last season. Matthew Reed comes in from Tulsa. He played 11 minutes a game last year. Denver Anglin is a name that I feel like I've known for quite a bit now. He's only a junior, but I feel like he's been at a couple of different places. I remember Georgetown and SMU, and he just kind of hasn't panned out. Last year at Rice, he played 22 minutes a game, shot at 38% from three, and he got him up at a good rate. So I think he might be a solid player for this team. CJ Anthony's a Cincy transfer. Lamine Sabali, or Sabali, is a Incarnate Word transfer who played 16 minutes a season ago per game. There's also a Santa Clara transfer who only played 7 minutes a game, and then Toby Harris from D3. Brandis played 30 minutes a game, 18.5 points per game, 5.5 boards, shot at 40.5% from three. So maybe they're relying on a good old D2 or D3 sharpshooter as well off the bench for a couple of minutes a game. But this is a pretty big grab bag from some solid conferences that I'm curious how it works out, and I think they'll be a better team come after the new year. So January, February, March, that's where I think this roster may click if it ever does.
Yeah, no, I really like the transfers that they brought in. I mean, you mentioned so many colleges. You know, there's New Hampshire, Tulsa, Incarnate Word, Santa Clara, like you mentioned. They're touching all coast in this transfer portal. And so I think the NBA move to NCAA is attracting and getting talent, especially in the first year. Then it kind of becomes an afterthought because then you're entrenched into the industry now of NCAA. It's not always the best for coaches. It's definitely a hurdle, and I'll be interested to see that. But I think that they have talent to win games in this conference and compete above 500 in this conference and in the top half of this MAAC. I like the talent that you mentioned, and I think Gerry's a good coach, and it just is that kind of hurdle from the NCAA or the NBA to the NCAA. And MAAC made a great point early on with the money situation. Iona's heavily funded. They're always wanting to get winners. And if you guys know better than me, I wonder what happened with Tobin Anderson. But, yeah, Noah with the olive branch, that was awesome. So, yeah, I like the Gales this season.
Yeah, they should be a top third team, just based off of name and brand. And I do agree that they do have the talent. I think it'll take a minute with Geriot in year number one here. Maybe they take the lumps here in the non-con, but everybody has been successful at Iona. Rick Pitino, obviously, Kevin Willard, Tim Clue. So the list goes on and on.
I think that Tobin underdelivered.
I mean, he finished in the top four and he got to the championship game. I thought he should have gotten a third year. His first year sucked, but he also Pitino left him 0 players. So
he did hit the portal very hard that year, though.
Yeah, he kind of whiffed on the first portal. Last year, I thought they lost all those close games, but they still got to the championship game. Let's this should be a top 5
for
team.
Iona's standards. I don't necessarily would say that everybody succeeded with,
right,
that tenure. I think they would be expecting top 3s. Come on, Mac.
I think he would have won the league this year. I think it would have been the third year in that league. He was knocking on the door last year, and he got in the top 4, got to a championship game. So
we would have seen how much roster turnover there would have been, because there would have been probably quite a few. And then he was 50% in the portal, one really bad year and one top half finish, and then a conference championship appearance, not even a win. So.
Another conference championship loss, Noah, for Tobin Anderson.
If only he could have drew Purdue, he would have beat Purdue again.
Right?
Yeah. Is any ineligibility in this conference? No, there's some legends and OGs in the MAAC. I love it.
If you want to bet on Tobin Anderson, do so over at MyBookie. MyBookie is where we're brought to you by. Place to bet on football and everything else. Their prop builder is second to none. Their motto is bet on anything, anywhere, anytime. Easy deposit and lightning fast payouts using crypto. MyBookie.ag, the promo code is TCESGPN for a 100% get back bonus up to $500 for new customers. That's mybookie.ag, promo code TCESGPN. We're also brought to you by Novig. Novig is America's #1 sports prediction market. Since Novig is an exchange, you know where you're getting some of the best prices in the market. Available in 35-plus states. Download the Novig app and get $50 off when you spend $5 if you use our promo code SGPN. Get in on the action with Novig, promo code SGPN. Shout out to the chat, live and well. College football coming up next for everybody asking. Look at this picture I found of old Coach Gallagher here. It looks like the Green Goblin. Coach Gallagher's a good coach. First off, I thought Manhattan took a step last year. I think that he's been getting better and better. We thought that we liked the hire initially. He got screwed at Hartford when they got rid of the program, going from D1 to D3. They jumped from 7 wins to 17 wins, and finished 12-8 and finished 4th, and even went to the CBI last year. Noah, does Manhattan continue the trajectory under Gallagher like Hartford seemed to do?
I think they may. At the top of the show, I mentioned that there were only 3 teams that finished in MAAC's top 5 standings without a top 5 defense. Year 1 of Manhattan with John Gallagher at the helm was one of those special trend-busting teams. The Jaspers had the league's best offensive efficiency per KenPom last year. Torvik does have Manhattan as the second youngest roster in the conference entering this season, but the Jaspers returned 4 guys that played 20-plus minutes a season ago. That's tough to find elsewhere. I think that if Manhattan improves on the defensive end of the floor, that this squad could have some title aspirations. Like I mentioned, they didn't lose too many important pieces, 3 starters, but they returned 4 guys that played 20-plus minutes. The starters they lose were Shaquille Bender, who played 31.5 minutes last season, averaged 11 points per game, also 11 points per game from Wesley Robinson, and then Messiah Gilliard, who put up 11 points per game and 7 boards. The returners that are notable here are Will Sidner, their big man up front. He was a freshman last year, played 29.5 minutes, averaged 14 points, 7 boards, shot at 35% from deep, and took almost 5 threes per game as a 6'8" big man. Jaden Winston, the returning point guard, he averaged 4.5 assists per game last year in 33 minutes. He put up 8.5 points per game, 3 boards. Devin Dinkins is a 5'10" wing who played 30 minutes per game, 13.5 points per game, averaged 2.5 assists, shot at almost 44% from 3, and he took more than 4.5 threes per game. They will look for a couple of guys to fill some roles in that starting 5. Eric Oliver Bush is a D2 transfer from St. Anselm, who's a 6'5" sophomore wing. In his freshman year there, he played 29.5 minutes, averaged 11 points per game, shot at 35% from deep. And Anthony Isaacs, a JUCO stud from Blinn, down there in Texas. Now he's up there in the Big Apple. He put up 14.5 points per game and 11.5 rebounds, 3.5 assists as a 6'6" forward. Entering his junior year there. And then Terrence Jones is a Norfolk State transfer, played 19 minutes a game last year. I'm interested in what kind of role he may play, but that's also another solid grab from the portal here for Manhattan. It's a nice blend of returnees, newcomers that I think if they figure it out on the defensive end, this is a title contender very well.
Yeah, I like Manhattan here, and I was kind of sharp on them last year, I would say, to toot my own horn. I hate doing that, but I think they have one of the most talented rosters, and I really like Gallagher as well. I think he can, he did well in the portal, getting size and experience we talk about, but also he's developing a freshman class, having freshmen come in. So it's not only just win now scenarios, and I like that in these low major MAAC squads. It's like let's build for the future as well. And win now, and the portal kind of allows you to do that. And I think Gallagher's done a good job at that, and he's a great coach. And I think they're one of the most talented teams, and size wins. And I think they have one of the best front courts in this conference. So yeah, I like Manhattan here. I think they can flirt with contention and be at the top of this conference again.
This is a title contender. With all those guys coming back, 20+ minutes, the experience. Last year they made that jump where they were 12-8 in league play. They got bounced early in the conference tournament, got that bad taste in their mouth. I think this is a team that can contend for the league title, maybe even win it outright. So we're high on the Jaspers here, 3 across the board. Coach John Dunne. This guy's also a pretty good coach, in my opinion. I think that he's done an underrated job at Marist the last couple of years. Back-to-back third-place finishes. He had the one bad year in 2023 where he finished 11th, but you look at it, 4 out of the last 5 years in the top 5 in the MAAC. He was at St. Pete's forever and had some success there as well. So Marist, once again, I think we'll be in the top tier here. Noah, what do you think of these Red Foxes?
Yeah, you mentioned it. Very underrated campaign, just at Marist in general so far. In 5 of Coach John Dunne's 7 seasons at Marist, he's had a top 5 defense in the MAAC, and defense wins in this conference, like I mentioned a couple of times now. However, that success hasn't necessarily been mirrored on the offensive side of the ball. Marist loses only 2 starters, but because they played such a big rotation last year, just defensively playing some matchups and often subbing in some guys, they've got the 2nd most returning minutes inside the MAAC and the 4th most experienced roster, according to Torvik.com. Like I mentioned, the one big piece that is gone is Josh Pasquarelli. He played 34.5 minutes last year. He was the leading scorer, 16 points per game. Shot at almost 40% from deep, 45% from the field. And then Jackson Price played 22 minutes a game last year, averaged 9.5 points. But many of these guys have played double-digit minutes in this program before. Like I mentioned, a pretty deep rotation. Jaden Collins-Roberts is the point guard here, returning, played 33 minutes a game last season, averaged 3.5 assists, 5.5 boards, 8.5 points per game. Justin Menard is an Iona transfer in conference that they're going to try to rely on here to possibly be a starter to supplement the other returners of Elijah Lewis, who played 30.5 minutes a game, averaged 11.5 points, 5 boards. Jaden Daughtry, who played 19.5 minutes last year, but put up 13 points per game. If he has more of an expanded role, the offensive side of the ball may look a little bit better for these Red Foxes. Jason Schofield as well, a redshirt sophomore, played 12.5 minutes last season. Tariq Watson averaged 11.5 minutes last year, and Trace Sultan played 10 minutes per game last season. All of these guys mostly seniors, or Jaden Collins-Roberts is a junior. The front court's a little young. That will probably grow with some time this season. A couple other gambles in the transfer portal that they get is Ryjon Blackwell, who's a graduate senior from D2 USC Aiken. He put up some good numbers there. We'll see what he's got. And then Kennesaw State transfer, who's a red shirt last year. This will be his first year playing college ball. But I think Marist, they've got a pretty high floor because of the defensive prowess every year under Coach John Dunne. So I got them immediately in the middle of the pack, and I like the returning production. So if they can unlock something on the offensive side of the ball, I think they could be a top 5 team in this conference.
Yeah, Noah, you make a great point and about the offensive side. But luckily in this league, you don't have to be the best offensively and still win games. And I was shocked by this, is that Marist, 1987 was the last time they made the NCAA tournament. So, that's a proud year for the Indiana Hoosiers, but that's a year we still hold on to, even though I wasn't a thought. But Marist, 341st in scoring last year. They couldn't shoot the 3, which they normally do. And even at home, Mr. Jalapeno made a great in the chat that I love them at home. It's a great home court and a slept-on home court across the league. And I like what Max said about John Dunne. I think he's a great coach. He worked with what he got, and Noah brought up great transfers that they brought in, and I think that he can make that roster work to be in the top 5 yet again. And hopefully maybe get a chance at an NCAA tournament bid as long as they make the tournament. And I think that they definitely will in their conference. And then they got a player that I guess I'll shout out is Parby Kabamba, 6'6", 230. get him in there, and let's get him some points. I think that's a strong body that can be a will and testament in this MAAC league. So I like the Red Foxes here. Top 5 team for sure in this conference.
Yeah, I may even take it a step further. I may have them even in the top 3. I trust Dunne, especially on the defensive side of the basketball. And them in Fairfield, to Jalapeño's point in the chat, them in Fairfield, I feel like steal more games at home than any of the other teams just because of their environments. Marist has really developed a nice home court advantage. And those two have really, I think, separated themselves. Iona used to be like that, but they kind of have taken a little bit of a step back in their crowds versus what Marist and Fairfield have been. So yeah, I'm high on the Red Foxes again. Dunne's a good coach. They have an identity in this program, and I think they'll be good once again. Speaking of a program that's got a nice identity, that is the Merrimack Warriors. No problem. Year number 1 in the MAAC, coming over from the NEC. They finished second, 14-6. Gallo's team has finished in the top 4 every year that he's been there. And this is what, year number now 10, I believe. Yeah, they had 3 years in the Northeast 10 League. Then they had 5 years in the NEC, and then 1 year in the MAAC. So this is year 10. They have a winning record every year. They're just a well-coached program. This is a good program. You can see by his record, 161 and 113. They've won games at multiple levels. They've advanced up and continued to win games. Noah, do they continue to win here in year number 10 of Gallo?
I'm going to have them taking a slight step back here. I do like Merrimack as a program. They've treated us very well over the last couple of years, but I'll get to my main takeaway in a second. Merrimack has had the best defense in the league a couple of times, both in the NEC and then last year in the MAAC. However, they bring back the second least minutes in the league. There's a lot of new faces here on the Warriors roster that's going to have to learn that unique Joe Gallo zone defense that is so vaunted and so feared in the conferences that they play in. Going from the NE10, which is D2, and then to the NEC and the MAAC, I think that's a huge jump for a program inside 1 decade. Joe Gallo has been incredible in maintaining that consistent success. It wasn't evident last year because of the roster continuity they had coming into their first year of the MAAC, but I wouldn't be surprised if Merrimack takes a step back here in a quality mid-major Northeastern conference because they're kind of dipping into some low-quality D1 or possibly even D2 transfer portal guys that they're going to have to rely on a lot, or this vast freshman class, because they only have 2 returners from last year, 1 returning rotation member, and that was Ty Dorsett, a 6'3" sophomore who played 15 minutes a game. Malik Edmead is the other returner, who's a 5'10" guard, but a couple of guys to circle out of the portal that may play some pivotal roles on this team for the upcoming season is Todd Brogna, a Stonehill transfer who played 28.5 minutes last season for the Skyhawks. Ernest Shelton, a D2 transfer from Gannon, who put up 17.5 points per game, 4.5 boards, shot at 35% from 3. He's a 6'5" junior wing. And then there's a 6'7" junior wing from D2 Bridgeport, who played 27 minutes a game last year, 19.5 points per game, 6.5 boards. That's Alou Cisse. And then the other incoming transfer from D1 is Andres Marrero. He's a graduate senior 6'3" guard who played 14.5 minutes a game for last year for the Explorers. This roster, if it was coached by somebody other than Joe Gallo, I would have it in the bottom half of the conference. So that's a tough place to begin for me to try to gauge how much I trust this coach, but this program has taken such a big step up over the last decade, and D2, NEC, MAAC, that I'm like, I'm going to press the brakes a little bit here in this preseason and not get burned early on by a very, very fresh roster that's got to learn that
zone. Yeah, I mean, how can I disagree with Merrimack and their program and Gallo? You guys make great points about Gallo, but Noah, I mean, to your point, I think you're right. Like, rebrands can be tough, but a well-coached rebrand is always nice. So we like to gamble. Rebrands are kind of like a gamble. Being above 500 is good, and I expect Merrimack to do that in this conference. But I agree with the step back from being in the top 3 of this conference. But Gallo knows how to win. But I think we're going to see some changes across the floor. They're going to be hopefully a well defensive team, but I think offensively you're going to see some changes, up tempo, more athletic players that they're going to try to get the ball and kind of spread the floor more and have more rotation. So they did increase their depth, which I think is a good thing if you're going to do that. So I see some changes maybe in Gallo, but I hope always under his tenure that you expect a well-stout defensive team. So, yeah, I think Merrimack could flirt with a top 5 finish, but they'll be just around them.
You know what that means. If a young team, really good coach, they'll get their ass kicked in November and December in their bye games. So we'll fade them then, and then he'll get it fixed by late January into February into the conference tournament. That's when you want to back them. So, yeah. I think Merrimack will be good come league play, but they will take their lumps because they're younger this year compared to previous years. So they'll finish in the top half just because of their culture, but I don't think that they'll contend for the league title like previous years. Next up, the defending champs, baby. My guy Donny Lind, 23-13, magical year at the Mount. They caught lightning in a bottle. Kind of like what we just said with Merrimack. Merrimack could be maybe Mount St. Mary's of last year, where they find lightning in a bottle come the conference tournament, 4 games in 4 nights, make a bunch of jump shots, perimeter shots, and next thing you know, you pull some upsets and you get into the NCAA tournament. Overall, just a great year for Donny Lind. 10-8 in league play, 23-13. Year 2 at the Mount in Emmitsburg, Maryland, Noah.
Yeah, like we mentioned at the top of the show, hell of a job from Coach Donny Lind in year 1. His bunch was one of the better shooting teams in the league last year. Left a lot of bettors and also just college basketball fans a little stumped with their run. They just got hot at the right time. The Mount loses 4 starters from last year's team. They played with a lot of bench guys anyway. They were dealing with quite a few injuries near the end of the season. Lind went into the portal just kind of looking for playing experience, and I think he got it. You look at this roster and a lot of juniors, seniors, graduate seniors here. The 2 main returners that are going to play a significant amount of time are Xavier Lipscomb and Arlandis Keys. Lipscomb only 7 points per game, but he averaged 4.5 assists per game. And then Keys shot at 36% from deep, took almost 4.5 of them per game in only 19 minutes per game. And the portal grab bag that they bring in is from some quality programs, in my opinion. You got a Anthony Arrington from Wofford, who played 15.5 minutes last season. He's entering his redshirt junior year. And then Trey DeVoe shot at 36.5% from deep. He's a 6'5" grad senior wing who played 24 minutes a game last year, averaged 4.5 boards. Justin Amadi is a transfer from Tulsa in his redshirt junior season. He played 16.5 minutes. He's a 6'7" forward wing type who's pretty efficient from the floor when he did shoot. He had a 58% shooting percentage there. And then a guy that they're kind of gambling on a little bit here is 6'10" forward Luke McElden from Santa Clara. And then Mason Sau from UNC Greensburg is a 6'2" junior guard who didn't play a whole lot last year, along with Anastasios Rosakis, who is a Florida State transfer, a Euro there that didn't get to see the floor a whole bunch, but he's a 6'7" wing that I feel like could maybe surprise this season. But a whole lot of production to replace from last year, but I think Donny Lind showed us that he can maybe defy the odds. It's a team that I don't think is going to be nearly as good in the shooting department, but I think a bottom half finish is coming for the Mount. But again, he's proven me wrong before, so I can't wait to see what this roster's got this year.
Yeah, I mean, I think coaches outweigh like players in this league, and I think what he brings to a program is an embodiment of what you want of a college basketball coach. And I think especially at these kind of stepping stone conferences, you lose a transfer to George Mason, you lose a transfer to Rice, so all these things happen, but those are kind of good things. You show that they won the conference, they made the NCAA tournament from their conference championship. So, all things impressive. He worked with what he had last year, and bringing in new pieces, maybe like Mac mentioned with Merrimack, no pun intended there, but it may be like a hard start and then just a great end of the season, and winning in the winter matters. And I think that's what the Mount do. They'll climb the Mount this season under Donny Lind, and I like them to be around that top 5 again, and definitely be a competitor come March. And yeah, I like the players Anastasios Rozakis. And then you also mentioned Amadi as well. I think we're going to see some massive rolls out of them come MAAC play. So yeah, I like them out here. And
yeah, and the thing I like about Donny Lind too is he's been a part of that program at different times in his career. He worked for Jamie Young Christian. They had success. They won the NEC, and I forget the other league that they were in before that. But yeah, this program always feels like it always has a high floor. They're on their down years. Maybe they're a couple games under 500, but the bottom never really falls out at the Mount. They're always find a way to be competitive, and then they have a special year every couple of years like they did last year where they go on a run. So, yeah, top half or middle of the pack for me probably this year with all the changing pieces. But, yeah, Donny Lind will get them playing their best ball come March. Another place to play your best ball come March is at Underdog. Underdog Fantasy, a great place to play fantasy pick'em where you can win up to 500 times your entry. Simply pick higher, lower on your favorite player stats. Available in a ton of different sports. We're going to hit on an Underdog play tonight. They got a brand new offer for new customers. Play 5 to get 50 in bonus funds when you use the sign-up code TCESGPN. We're also brought to you by Rhythm. Rhythm is off to a great start in college football and the NFL. We use it over there. Introduce a leaderboard with the weekly cash prizes just for tracking your bets in the app. Track 5 bets in the same type from any model you build, and you can win $1,000. Use our promo code SGPN25 when you download the Rhythm app for 25% off your first month. Download the Rhythm and use our promo code SGPN25. All righty, we come back on the college basketball experience, and I thought this program had a high floor, but finally the bottom fell out under Greg Paulus last year. By far his worst year at Niagara, finishing 11-20. I guess it's his first year, but he had never finished lower than 6 in the MAAC. They finished 12th last year. Disappointing year. Do we get a bounce back here, Noah?
No, I firmly don't believe so. Last year was one of the worst case scenarios for Coach Greg Paulus, and they finished with the second worst defense in the MAAC. And I think he's waving the white flag and choosing to tear it all down and rebuild with some JUCO studs and D2 role players because everybody leaves from last year's team. So shout out to the gym roster sheet for this one because we're going to go up from the top to the bottom. Reggie Prudhomme is a D2 transfer from Cameron who averaged 5.5 assists last year in 32.5 minutes. He's a 6-foot graduate senior point guard. From the JUCO ranks, Josiah Sabino comes in from Garden City Community College. He's a 6'4 junior wing. Justin Page is a 6'5 junior wing who played 28 minutes a game last season. Vice Sankey is an Eastern Washington transfer who's a 6'8 junior wing who played 16.5 minutes a game. Shot at 32.5% from 3. He likes to shoot them. And then Kabaya Shibangu is a D2 transfer from Northwest Oklahoma State. He played 28 minutes a game last year, averaged 6.5 rebounds per game. He's a 6'9 redshirt senior forward. Justin Hawkins is a 6'7 senior who's a D2 transfer from Thomas Jefferson College. He put up 16 points per game, 6.5 boards, 2.5 assists in 33 minutes per game. And then you got a couple other JUCO transfers here, smaller guards in both Trenton Walters and Brian Griffith. Both of them were pretty good scorers at Indian Hill and Coffeyville, respectively. And then from Northwest Junior College, Drew Larson, a 6'7" junior forward. Overall, not a whole lot for me to really get excited about with that roster, and just with how the bottom fell out truly on that team last year leads me to believe that I'm just going to start kind of in the basement with Niagara here, and then for Greg Paulus' sake, hopefully they can prove me wrong.
Yeah, I mean, I'm not going to say Greg Paulus is not a good coach, but I think he is. I worry about him with a lack of talent, and I foresee it another year, like you mentioned, Noah. And they do bring in size, so they may be better in the front court and getting, being able to crash the glass, getting second chance points. But in the end, I think they're outmatched in this conference, so they'll be around the cellar again, and I think maybe just up and out of the basement of the MAAC.
If he finishes in the basement again, he played with Shire at Duke. He'll be an assistant coach on the Duke staff next year.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, this roster's underwhelming. The only thing I'll say is Paulus, that was his worst year. So maybe he bounces back. They overachieve and they hover around 500. But they're gonna have to win a bunch of one-score games, I think, just because I think the roster is limited. But 78 and 98, year 7, kind of a big year for Paulus here. The Aqueduct, Quinnipiac, baby. Tom Pecora's doing a good job. He took over 2 years ago. He was the interim as well. You had the 2 interim coaches really come onto the scene and win 24 games there. But Pecora found a way to double down on that, wins 20 last year. So 44 wins in 2 years for Quinnipiac here. They've been kind of the class of the league in the regular season. Haven't had the postseason success that I'm sure that they wish they had, which means they could be the year after the year here in the conference tourney with how this league works. But no, I know you love the Aqueduct. Talk about Quinnipiac.
Yeah, Coach Tom Pecora has done a very good job in his first 2 seasons with Quinnipiac, putting up back-to-back seasons with a top 3 defense and offensive efficiency in the conference per KenPom. The Bobcats do have to replace 4 starters, though. And Pecora, he's going to rely on some development of the guys within his program. He did a solid job filling in some of the holes in the backcourt with some hand-picked guys from solid mid-major conferences. You look at Asim Jones, who played at FIU last year, 25 minutes a game, and then Nate Grangba, and definitely butchered that, Gamba, from UMass, Frank Martin's program there, before they jumped into the MAAC. He jumped ship. 3 returners in that front court. Jaden Zimmerman, a 6'5" wing who's a sophomore, played 24 minutes a game, averaged 11 points, shot at 34.5% from deep, 3.5 threes per game. And then Amari Moore is a 6'7" forward who played 33 minutes a game, led the team in scoring with 18 points per game, 9 rebounds, 1.5 assists, 2.5 steals per game, almost a block per game. He did throw up almost 6 threes per game, didn't shoot it at a tremendous percentage there, but I think he's going to be the main piece of this offense, and he's been pretty good defensively as well for Quinnipiac. And then they've got a 6'9" sophomore in Grant Randall. He played 10 minutes a game last year in his freshman season, and he's kind of going to be that paint protector, that rim protector, along with Spence Aviv, who's on the bench there in his freshman year. He's a 7-footer. He played almost 7.5 minutes a game last year for the Bobcats, but there's a lot of freshmen, a lot of newcomers on this team, not necessarily a ton of portal gets. So this is a team that's going to have to take some time and really kind of find out their identity as a team. But one thing I do know is Pecora's done pretty well with his rosters in the past, both offensively and defensively. I think they're a middle of the pack and a team that I want to be bullish on late in the season.
Yeah, I love this team. I think this team is definitely worth. Probably one of the favorites of this conference, but definitely worth a stab at winning in the regular season at least. Pecora under Jay Wright, good coach, and and Quinnipiac has never been in the NCAA tournament since transitioning to D2 from D2. So this could be the year for Pecora to get back to the dance after a long time, only as an assistant coach as well. And I like this roster that you mentioned, Noah. I think this roster is one of the best in the MAAC, and I like what Pecora has done last year with the roster, or the last 2 years. And I feel like they've just kind of started out hot and then have downturned at the end of the year where you don't want to start losing. But maybe this is the year that they get over the hump and get to the NCAA tournament, which I think is very prominent for Pecora and co. So, yeah, give me Quinnipiac potentially to win the MAAC.
They're super young compared to, I think, the rest of I think they're the youngest team in the league, according to Torvik. So I don't think they're going to win 3 straight. Elliott makes a good point. Nobody's ever won 3 straight MAAC regular season titles. So, and that includes Iona. So I think they'll still be in the top 5, but I think a little bit of a step back. But Pecora doing a great job, 44 wins in 2 years. Let's go over to the moving company. Ryder, baby. Kevin Baggett coming into what? God, he has been there. He's been there over a decade. This is, I think, year 14 now.
13.
Yeah. 13.
Yeah, or 14. Yeah, this is
this is year 14.
Great
Last
ball.
year was, been really good in the MAAC, 139 and 113. Those 55% winning percentage. He's got a winning record overall, 206 and 202. He's a Philly guy. He played at St. Joe's back in the day. Solid program. The 2 years prior to that, they finished second and third, as you can see. I guess their overall record wasn't very good, but they played a ton of bye games. Finished second and third those years. Last year, a little bit of setback in 8th. What do you think here of Ryder, Noah, with this new look Broncos?
I don't know. They're a little bit of a mystery team for me because in the past 5 seasons post-COVID under Kevin Baggett, Ryder has been a really good offensive program, but leaky on the defensive side. 2023, Ryder was the other outlier without a top 5 defense that finished in the top 5 of the standings. They came in second in the MAAC in 2023, but 5 straight seasons with the Bronx, they've finished with a top 5 offense. That's probably the identity once again, but it's going to take a lot of work from this coaching staff because of the completely turned over roster to maintain that success offensively and possibly improve on the defensive end because, a lot of their players portaled out here. The only returners are Flash Burton, who played 22 and a half minutes his freshman season, and Zion Cruz, who played 26 and a half minutes his junior season. He put up 10 points per game. And then Cole McCabe, 7.5 minutes per game last season. He's a 6'8" sophomore heading into this season. A couple of guys that they are going to look to possibly on that offensive side of the ball is Antoine Wilson. He put up 15.5 points per game, 4.5 rebounds a game, 2.5 assists at Weatherford Junior College last year. He's a 6'5" wing entering his junior year. And then some pieces in the front court that I feel like could maybe improve this defense. You have Davis Bynum from Fullerton, who played 13.5 minutes his freshman year. And then Daniel Helterhoff, who came from USC Upstate, and he's a 6'10" senior forward. Devion Williams is a Bryant transfer who were really salty last year. He's a senior, 6'3" guard who played 16 minutes a game. And then this is another scorer from D2 Clark, Atlanta, Shamani Fuller, who's a 6'9" redshirt senior forward, played 30 minutes a game, put up 12 points, 8 rebounds per game. This team, I think, lacks that offensive punch like on the returning production end. But I'm banking on the staff kind of maintaining that success there. And I think they're really relying on that front court that outside of maybe Shamani Fuller doesn't have a whole lot of dynamic offensive talent to kind of bolster that defense. I'm not sure how that's going to really work right now for the Bronx. So to me, they're kind of going to be in the bottom half of my standings for the prediction wise.
Yeah, I'd have to agree. I mean, Ryder's style of play is fun to watch. but it's kind of super volatile. The way they play is that grind you out, kind of press, like you on a wet blanket almost, like constantly pressing and then getting in transition. So you're going to need a lot of depth for that, and now you're going to do a ton of roster turnover here. It may not be the best style of play under a Baggett coach team, but I like Ryder. I mean, he's been a proven winner in the MAAC, like Mac mentioned, and I think this team's got a chance of definitely winning in the MAAC. But it's always interesting seeing how these conference games play out, because some get the buys way more harder than some do. So that's always interesting. I know it doesn't matter for conference play necessarily, but for record-wise, it doesn't always, a 15-17 record 2 years ago doesn't necessarily mean that they were awful in the MAAC. They've always had good teams in the MAAC. But I think just that volatility of the style they play is never going to get them quite past 500 or even below. Just keep them right around that number in the MAAC, which I expect again this year, even with roster turnover. Probably below 500, though, in the MAAC, just right around.
Yeah, Mr. Jalapeno says that Ryder can't rebound. I don't necessarily look at that category a ton, because a lot of that's coaching philosophy, whether or not you want to go after a lot of offensive rebounds. A lot of them prefer to get back back on defense, I would say. But I guess with the Ryder program and how good they've been offensively, you would expect the rebounding numbers to be a little bit better, and they're not. So a little bit pro and con on that stat there.
I think Ryder, I like Baggett as a coach. I like you said, he's proven he can win, but this is an inexperienced group, unproven group. I kind of think that this is a bottom tier team in this league, even though he really hasn't. I mean, what's the worst he's finished? I guess in 2021 they finished 11th. Maybe it could be one of those years, but for the most part they've been a top 3, top 4 team 6 out of the last 8 years. So it's hard to bet against him, but there's a lot to not be desired with this roster, in my opinion. Next up, we got Sacred Heart, and this is the final year at the Division I, I believe.
Yeah.
Yep.
I think they may go out with a bang, though. They're going to be all right this year.
Latina's a good coach. I mean, he's been there. He played. He's been in the program since 2005, so this is year 20 in the program. Year 13 as a head coach. Last year they transitioned from the NEC up to the MAAC. They finished 500. Really shitty that this is the last year at the Division I level. You just question their motivation, but it could be one last win like Hartford did.
Yep.
Yeah, it's kind of along the same lines of my thought process, because in year 1 playing in the MAAC, Anthony Latina's team had the second best offense, and that was pretty impressive to me because the Pioneers lost almost everybody from that 2024 team that played in the NEC. For this season, Sacred Heart returns 4 guys that played 20-plus minutes last season, and in result, the Pios have the 3rd most returning minutes in the league, and to supplement that solid core, Latina went out and grabbed a couple of transfers from quality mid-major conferences, those returners being Mackay Connor, who played 31.5 minutes last season, averaged 6.5 assists per game. And then Griffin Baruch, who played 23 minutes per game last season, shot at 35.5% from 3, and he took almost 5.5 per game. Anquan Hill is a 6'9" redshirt senior forward who put up 13 points per game, 5.5 boards, shot at 45% from 3 on 3.5 attempts per game, and 27.5 minutes per game. And then Niall Ralph Byer played 21 minutes per game last season, shot at 43% from deep on 4.5 attempts. The 2 transfers that I was talking about, Jan Farrell from East Carolina, because we believe in this 6'6" senior forward who played 18.5 minutes last season for the Pirates, shot at 35% from deep in 3.5 attempts per game. And then Deshaun Gittins, a FIU transfer, who's a 6'3" senior guard who played 27.5 minutes last season, averaged 8 and 4 for those Panthers. I really like this offense. They were good last year. I think they're possibly going to be even better this season. And I think with their experience and the veteranness of this team, I think they might be able to get a little bit better on the defensive side of the floor. And Mac, you talked about it with them going to D3. A lot of these teams, whether you're looking at not necessarily football, but basketball, baseball, other non-revenue generating sports on that side, a lot of the kids would have just portaled out, and this group stayed together for one more year to try to run it back because they had a pretty successful season last year. So I like the outlook for this team throughout the entire season.
Yeah, Sacred Heart. It's sad to see them go, but you guys make great points about Hartford. I mean, I guess St. Francis wasn't on a farewell tour, but they made the first four last year. Now they go all the way down to D3, going down. I mean, that's just criminal what we're seeing. But yeah, I like this roster. You guys mentioned some good players and Latina, good coach. I just felt like they were competitive with games, and then they would just give up and let games run away. But with experience, it's definitely better, and they may be playing with a chip on your shoulders with the upcoming transition. So, yeah, I like Sacred Heart in the MAAC here. I think they'll be, a top 6, top 5 team after being 500 in the conference last year.
Matt is saying that they're not going to D3. I swore I read that they were going to D3 after this year. I know St. Francis is going D3. I'm pretty sure that Sacred Heart is as well. If not, I mean, either way, even if they're I like this team either way. They bring back a ton. Their experience. Latina's a good coach. They had no issue transitioning from the NEC up to the MAAC. So even if it is their farewell year, and maybe I just misread the headline, I think Sacred Heart will still be a contender in this league. So,
oh yeah.
Let's move on.
Them as a contender as well.
Yeah, Matt might be right. Maybe it was just St. Francis, PA. Either way, they're going to contend. It's just whether they have that storyline with them the rest of the year. St. Pete, the Peacocks, baby. Bashir Mason. What year is Bashir Mason in now? Bashir Mason took over for what's my guy's name? Shaheen over at Seton Hall. Year number 4 now. 14 wins year 1, 19 wins year 2. That was a nice year. They got back to the NCAA tournament last year, a little bit disappointing, bouncing down to 12. So a little bit of a zigzag so far. He was good at Wagner. Finished in the top 2 his last 2 years there. No, what do you think of this program? This has kind of been an all over the place program here.
Yeah, real quick, cleaning up on Sacred Heart. I don't think that they are moving down D3, so we might.
You thinking a rider?
Because it also doesn't make sense why they would make that jump from the NEC to the MAAC. That would be kind of ass backwards if you're going to now go to D3. But anyways, with St. Peter's here, the Peacocks, I'm kind of stumped with just how bad St. Peter's was last year under Bashir Mason. You know, a lot of guys were returning from that NCAA tournament appearance in 2024. The Peacocks were 3-6 in 2 score conference games last year, so maybe they just had some bad luck. And the worst offense in the league probably deserves a lot of that blame. And then Bashir Mason, he didn't necessarily hit the portal hard after losing 4 starters. I think that may come back to bite him because I'm not necessarily high on some of the returnees within this program. One starter does come back, and Bryce Eaton. He's going to be the projected point guard to start the season. He was more of a shooter last year. He averaged 11 points per game in his redshirt freshman season, 26 minutes per game. He shot at 37% from deep on 5 three-pointers attempted per game. And then you've got a couple of guys that played double-digit minutes per game, and Brent Bland, who, played 20 minutes per game, shot at 31.5% from 3. Elijah Perkins played 15.5 minutes a game in his junior season. He's a senior now. Zakir Williamson is a 6'7" senior forward who played 15 minutes a game last season. And then Adeto Kumbo Bakare, who played 14.5 minutes a game last year. The one transfer incoming is also from UMass MAAC, and that's Akil Watson. He's a 6'9" junior forward, and he's the only guy on the roster that I currently see that is taller than 6'8". So, yeah. Actually, I take that back. Mo Diao is a JUCO transfer from North Platte who put up 14.5 points per game, 8 rebounds per game, 3.5 blocks. He'll be competing with Akil Watson for that starting center position. So, St. Peter's, I'm not necessarily high on this group. I thought Bashir Mason was a solid coach after the 24 season, but this is a team that I'm not necessarily bullish and wanting to get out in front and back them early on in the year for the upcoming season.
Yeah, we talk about them now. You never know, you can get a B-Dub sponsorship playing at St. Peter's, 4 or 5 months later. And that's the funny thing about the college basketball, in my opinion. I like the St. Peter's team. I think they do lack talent, but defensively they have prowess. And Mason is going to keep that defensive-minded coaching, and he's solid at it. I think they just lack offensive scoring, which can bring them over the hump of being in that top echelon of the MAAC. But I think they're going to be competitive in these games. Expect me to take them randomly to cover sometimes, maybe more in the first half. I feel like they only play for one half pretty, a lot better, but that's just probably because they're tired out from playing just stout defense constantly. So, and I like the size increases in the players that you mentioned, Noah. So I think St. Peter's will be in that bottom half of the league, but not quite the lowest.
I will co-sign. Not overly, kind of like Ryder. Not overly high on this team, but I don't think Mason's a horrible coach. I think he's got a proven track record at Wagner, and then he got to the NCAA tournament 2 years ago. But it's been up and down with the Peacocks in 3 years. Kind of a little bit of a zigzag boomerang. I think they're in the bottom tier. Just inconsistent, but they are chippy as a dog whenever we can get them as a bigger dog. Final team.
Never graduate. Manscaped rolls around typically in February or March. That's how I have this shirt.
Yes.
So, yeah.
Final team. This team was good. This team was a nice little story last year. Gerry McNamara, 14 and 18, finished 500 in league play. They bring back a ton. This is a contender, I think, Noah. What do you think?
Yeah, last year they were kind of the cute preseason pick that a lot of people wanted to be bold about. They were the sleeper. A lot of people rooting for Gerry McNamara in year one. It resulted I would say it's a solid season in year one. He went 9-11 in conference play, but the Saints, they were pretty solid on both ends of the floor because of a third-rated offensive efficiency and sixth-ranked defensively on Ken Palm. I think that the 2026 year is going to be the year for the Saints. A lot of people liked the roster last year, and they returned 4 starters in 72% of their minutes, resulting in both the most returning minutes and the most experienced roster in the MAAC, according to Torvik. You look at the returning starters here, and that's Justin Schultz, who put up 36 or he played 36 minutes a game last year, put up 16 points per game, 4.5 assists, alongside Marcus Jackson and Gavin Doty in that backcourt. Jackson played 24.5 minutes a game, and Doty played 28 minutes a game, averaged 11 points per game, 6 boards. And then Brendan Coyle is a 6'7" forward. He's now a senior who played 33 minutes a game last year, put up 13 points per game, 4 boards, 39.5% shooter from deep, and he took 7.5 of them per game. But yeah, I like that Doty kid. His freshman year, he was really solid. I think he's going to take another step in his sophomore year, hopefully. And then Tasman Goodrick is a D2 transfer. He's the projected starting center. He's a 6'10" junior. He played 26.5 minutes a game last year, 15.5 points, 10.5 boards. And then he's backed up by Riley Mulvey, who is an Iowa transfer. And man, these big men from Iowa are kind of like gold, how they've gone in the portal or with the Hawkeyes in recent years. He's a 6'11" redshirt senior. Didn't play a ton with the Hawkeyes there. But yeah, him and then Reed Ducharme are going to play kind of some cleanup minutes off the bench. He's a 6'7" redshirt sophomore wing who shot at 33% from deep last season. Siena, they've got a lot of good pieces on the offensive side of the ball. If they can kind of maintain the defensive success, I think this is a team that's also competing for a conference title this year.
Yeah, the question is going to be both sides of the ball. I think getting it back into transition, but I like this Siena. You bring back all the pieces, bring back starters, you bring back role players, no roster turnover for Gerry Mac to worry about, and now he can work with guys that have already been in his offensive sets, which I think is big, especially in these kind of conferences. Continuity is key, and Gerry Mac under Boeheim forever. I'd run through a wall. I mean, I never was a Syracuse guy, but, I mean, come on. 06, his run is awesome. A champion there as well. Gerry Mac definitely is got a lot on his shoulders, I think, as a stepping stone conference here. And I think Siena definitely has a chance to win this conference as well. And one of my picks to win the conference, just spoiler alert. I like their roster. I think that they were flirty in games, but like Noah mentioned, they lack defensive prowess. And if they can be able to improve that, they've already got the offensive mind and good guard play, and one of the best guard plays in the MAAC, in my opinion. I really like this Siena team. I think we see a huge jump for them.
Yeah, this is a contender. I think McNamara's got a good group here, good experience, been in the system. 72% of his roster coming back, returning production. So a lot to like with the Saints. 13 down. Now it's time for everybody's favorite part. Number 13, Niagara.
Yeah, I have Niagara at 13th as well. There was just not a whole lot to like with their situation right now. It's kind of looking like a total rebuild for Paulus.
I'll go across the board here with Niagara as well. I don't like what Paulus has, like we mentioned, and yeah, give me Niagara.
At number 12, I got the moving company. I got Ryder. It's hard putting Baggett's team all the way down there, but I think the other teams are better.
I hate doing this, but also I don't know how much of that 24 team, success could be contributed to Bashir Mason. I have St. Peter's at 12. I want to see him do it with his own guys, his own program. And last year was not a great sign because I thought he had a pretty good roster. So I have the Peacocks 12th. I do not like it, but that's where I'm going.
I'm going to go the Golden Griffiths, Canisius. I like Jim Christian a lot. I think we see them take a major jump in 2026-27 season. Not quite this season. So I have them 12.
I got the Peacocks, basically what Noah said. Inconsistent program right now. I'll go the Peacocks at number 11.
Yeah, 11. I've got Merrimack. I'm gonna bank on Jimmy Christian or not. No, Canisius. I said Jimmy Christian.
Like, damn, that's.
I said Jimmy Christian. I said Jimmy Christian. I didn't mean to say Merrimack. Canisius, 11th. I'm banking on him once again this year. I think he's a better coach than like Bashir Mason. And I like a lot of the experience that he went out and got in the portal. So Golden Griffs.
Ryder, for me, 11. I think they're just too volatile, and we're going to see them kind of struggle this year on a rebuild.
So at 10, I got Jim Christian and company. So, yeah, like I said, jump up here from the basement, get 10th. That equates to about 10, 11 wins. Then they could take another step next year. If they can win a bunch of close games, maybe they can crawl into the middle of the pack. But I got Canisius at 10.
Oof, that's low.
I mean, that's pretty fair.
You and Colby always kind of hating on the Aqueduct.
No, I said Canisius.
Oh,
yeah.
I'm doing my rankings on the side of everything that I talked about, and I'm all over the place, I guess. 10, I got Mount St. Mary's. They lose 4 starters, relying on a grab back from the portal. Just a group that I'm not necessarily totally high on.
Yeah, I'm going to go number 10 for me is St. Peter's. You guys made great points about them, so don't need to reiterate anything. I just think defensively, not going to be able to get them to win games. But, hey, 8 wins last year. was 10th in this conference, 8-12. So wasn't, a lot of 500 or close to 500 teams.
At number 9, I got the Connecticut team. I got the Stags of Fairfield. A little bit of a bounce down last year. I think they are a little bit more improved, crawled back into somewhat of that middle of the pack here. So I got Fairfield at number 9.
I'm going Rider. They've been a pretty good offensive program, but they're in a little bit of a retooling phase, especially on the offensive side of the ball. So we'll see how well the Bronx are able to sustain their program's success recently.
Yeah, I'm Fairfield as well, Max. So I had them at 9. I think they're going to be competitive in games, but just not quite over the hump.
At number 8, this is where I got the Mount. Magical year last year, but remember they did finish 6th in the regular season, so it's not really that big a step down from the regular season. I think they're around a 500 team here.
I have Fairfield. To me, there's I want to believe that Chris Casey's a pretty good coach after his 2024 season as the interim, but the talent or the roster on paper just lacks a little bit of talent for me.
All right, I'm going to go a little crazy here. Merrimack, number 8 for me. I think Gallo's going to have a tough year rebuilding. I know he's a proven winner, but I think they're going to be flirting with a 500 record, 17 and or 15 and 16 around that margin. But I think that roster turnover is going to be a major issue, and we see that step back, like I mentioned with Merrimack. So I have them 8th.
I got Merrimack at 7. They're going to improve throughout the year just because Gallo can coach, but there's so much that they're replacing. So give me the Warriors here, middle of the pack.
Yeah, I have Merrimack at 7 as well. Just a lot of new faces, and it's a unique zone that they're going to have to learn with Joe Gallo. So I think it's going to take some time for sure. Probably a February or March team to look to back.
Mine's Mount St. Mary's. They're going to win the conference tournament though in the 7th spot again or whatever they were. So yeah, give me Mount St. Mary's here.
All right, 6 is where I got the Aqueduct. Quinnipiac, they're not going to win. They're not going to three-peat. They lost a ton last year. Yes, 44 wins in 2 years, but a little bit of regression in year 3 for Pecora. So I'll have Quinnipiac finishing 6.
That's where I have them as well. They lose 4 starters, but I do believe that Pecora has shown us that he's a pretty damn good coach on both sides of the ball. So stay tuned on the Bobcats from me.
Yeah, number 6 for me is actually going to be Sacred Heart. I think Sacred Heart, now knowing that they don't have that chip on their shoulder with the D2 movement, definitely feels like they're always were last year that close to winning games, and then I would let, like I mentioned, they would let them get just quit and give up. So I like Latina. I think they're going to be a solid team, but I have them 6 Pioneers.
I got the Gales of Iona at 5. A lot of unknown. But the roster should be talented. The brand should be in the top 5. So I got Iona cracking the top 5 again.
I have Iona 5th as well. A lot of talent on the roster. First-year head coach, though.
Second time across the board with the MAAC for us. I'm going Iona as well in the 5th spot. Yeah, you guys said it best.
At 4, I got our Red Foxes, Marist, baby. Dunne's a good coach. Defensively, they'll be good again. Yeah, give me Marist. Top 4 finish again in the MAAC.
Yeah, I have Marist as well. Consistent defensive prowess program. Top 5 defense in 5 of the 7 years that John Dunne's been there. So, yeah, Red Foxes.
Number 4 for me is Quinnipiac. A little higher on them than you guys. I think they got a lot of talent. And, yeah, I like Pecora and what he's done. So give me Quinnipiac, number 4.
Hilarious who started the episode, or not started the episode, but I started the saying with this team, well, they're moving to D3. They're not moving to D3. They're saying, I'm fake news on this. Hopefully they never move to D3. I got Sacred Heart, man. I like this group. Latina's a good coach. A lot of experience coming back. They went through the process last year of coming from the NEC to the MAAC. They held their own, 500. I think they take a step forward. They get in the top 3 this year.
3rd, I have Sacred Heart. They returned 4 guys that played 20-plus minutes a season ago on the second best offense. If they could just improve a little bit on the defensive end, I think it's top 3 team in the conference.
Number 3 for me is going to be Marist. I like John Dunne. They're always a well-rounded team. They could do a good job of spreading the floor. Let's see if they can improve offensively, get some wins, and crack back. Yeah, they were top 5 last year. Let's see if they can crack into that top 3.
So for the top 2, do all 3 of us have Manhattan and Siena?
Yeah.
Yep. Looks like it.
Give me Gallagher to win the regular season. Gerry Mac doesn't win it just yet. So yeah, give me Jaspers 1, Saints 2, regular season. Goes back to the Manhattan Jaspers.
I have them flipped. I have Siena 1, Manhattan 2. With Manhattan, though, I mean, you got to love it. They returned 4 guys that also played 20 minutes a game last season from the number 1 offense in this league. But defense tends to win in the MAAC over the last couple of years that I looked at. And Siena, I think they had a really balanced team last year, both offensively and defensively. They returned the most minutes in the conference, and they have the most experienced roster per Torvik. So give me Siena.
Yeah, I'd run through a brick wall for Gerry Mac, but I'd also run for a brick wall for him to finish second. So I have Siena second, Manhattan first. I like Manhattan defensively, and they also have one of the 2 best players in the conference, I think. So, and potentially flirting with MAAC Player of the Year and Will Sidner. So I like the Jaspers. I was high on them last year, and I'm going to continue to be high on them, and I'm going to have them be first. But I also like Siena, so I'll take them as well in the conference for a sprinkle. If we're going to bet the top 2, I'll bet my top 2.
Sleeper team in the MAAC. So a team that didn't finish in the top 4 of last year that you think can finish in the top 4 this year that you're maybe the highest on, because I think we've got a couple of the teams in the top 4 this year that didn't finish there last year. Last year's top 4: Quinnipiac, Merrimack, Marist, and Manhattan.
Wait, you say sleeper or bust first?
Sleeper. Do sleeper.
Sacred Hearts are all our sleepers, I think.
Yeah.
I've got Siena.
In Siena, I mean, yeah, I guess Siena finished second. I mean,
Siena finished behind Sacred Heart last year in the standings. I got them winning the conference. So,
yeah, I mean, I agree with both of those based on our rankings, but I'd say Mount St. Mary's always too. Come March, don't sleep.
And then bus team. Which of those top 4 teams do you think has the lowest floor for the upcoming season? That's Quinnipiac, Merrimack, Marist, and Manhattan.
Quinnipiac. They could always go back to being the Aqueduct.
Merrimack.
I agree. I think the program's made a huge jump, and Joe Gallo has been an outstanding coach, but it's a lot of new faces that have to learn that zone defense. They've gone from the NE10 to the NEC to the MAAC within like 8 years. And at some point, I think they're going to fall out of the top 4 of the standings where they've basically lived the last decade. So I think it's the Warriors that might have the lowest floor here.
I'm with you.
Who wins the conference tourney?
Tournament winner. Who do we think? MAAC?
I can't believe I'm picking them. Quinnipiac gets it done. They choked back-to-back years as a 1 seed. Now they're flying there as a 6 seed. The Aqueduct dances for the first time ever.
My John Hancock's on that too. I'm co-signing it. Let's go, Bobcats.
Year after the year.
I said it on the conference preview earlier when we were running through them alphabetically. Co-sign as well. Let's go Bobcats. I'm always going to bet my top 2, Manhattan and Siena as well.
They've made me a lot of money over the years. I like Tom Pecora. He's proven some people wrong on this show. And now he's got his own stink on this pick, and it's probably not going to come through. But, yeah.
First D1 NCAA tournament bid for the Bobcats. Let's go.
That's why I picked him to win the conference tourney. I can't take him every single game. So, shout outs.
They cashed my outright future last year. Let's cash a tournament future this year. Come on.
Yeah, I'm all for it. Shout out to the chat. You guys are rocking. College football experience week. We in week 5 now? Week 5. Me, Pick Dundee and the Bet Detective, the Marathon Show, the Riot Show, the Party Show is coming up here in 20 minutes. Go check out our other previews. We got the Patriot League out. We got the OVC out. We got the NEC out. This is number 4. turn your notifications on. We'll announce the schedule here over the next couple days on what's coming up next. We will not get another one in this week. I'm pretty confident of that because I'm going to ECU tomorrow, then I'm in Morgantown all weekend. So
somebody's going back to college.
Yeah, I'm back to college for the next fucking 4 days. I ain't doing no college basketball fucking previews. We'll be back on Monday and we'll start gearing up more 2-a-days. So probably around this time, to be honest, 7 o'clock, 8 o'clock to lead us into a 9 o'clock college football show. So that gives you a little bit of structure. So yes, everybody go check out the Pump Fake Pod. Huff, Stooley doing a great job over there. They're breaking down every single conference preview as well. Go check out Noah Bienick at NoahB77_ as well. I'm at Moneyline_Mac. See you Jack Fucks in 20 minutes over there at the college football experience. Like, subscribe, tell a friend. That's all I got. This is the college basketball experience. You better start thinking about yours. And we are out of here.